first poem I'm going to do is entitled Streets Paved with Teenage Blood. It's actually a poem in my chapbook, and it goes along with the theme Black Boy Ink, which is symbolic of exploring some of the social issues that affect African American males, young particularly. So this poem is really just inspired by some issues that I've heard, me personally heard kids that I work with at Mifflin High School express, and I just put it all into a poem, and I created this character. So hopefully you all like it. I haven't really performed it at all, so this is like I'm experimenting with this poem. So hope you enjoy it though. I was told that someday I will make the perfect prisoner. So I made room in my closet and dresser for orange jumpsuits. I'm 17. Word on the streets is I will be a walking hearse. Tomorrow I'm gonna catch the one to the strip, ask the clerk if they have any tuxedos for my casket. Around my way, the young build their own funerals. Beer cans roll down sidewalks. Our missing father try to keep their heads above Colt 45s. And we used to think Air Jordan visit our neighborhood to tie every pair of Nikes that hung on our telephone wires. Now we know they just the shoelaces of black boys who die young. Black on black, one more ways dream. Our school teachers hang up obituaries on our bulletin boards. There are no citywide street lights, only police lights. A senseless crime had just been committed near school grounds. A group of us suddenly became murderers, suspects, criminal thieves, even though we know we're not responsible. You see, we are innocent black boys trying to keep our pants above our waists, but the reporters say we are bulldogs crawling out of news cameras, that our neighborhoods raise up skeletons and feed them cigarette ashes, that our one-way signs read the only way, and every house is filled with needles. When we walk home with our faces to the streets, paved with teenage blood, you notice the caution tape stuck to our boots. We don't bother to shake it off. A helicopter falls home when I turn my hand on the doorknob. I tremble. Can't believe me and my homies made it past the front porch. Figured we would not have survived longer than a bullet, that our souls would be teddy bear strapped around telephone poles. When I enter my bedroom, I notice my mother in the corner. She's wearing a black dress. Tissue boxes are everywhere. A picture of me dangles in her hand. She asks me, why do you stay out so late? My little brother runs from behind, shut the toy in the back of my leg. My mom, she looks at me like a parent seeing a child's dead corpse for the first time. She says, baby, every time the police lights drip from the curtains, I never expect you to return home, so I barge into your room, wait for my cell phone to crawl in here, whisper, my son is a tragic demise. I try to stretch my arm into your photo so mommy can hold you and be certain that I would never lose you. When I look out the window, I see ambulance trucks filled with children that look exactly like me. There's a woman screaming. Outsiders zoom by. I notice a trio of young African males playing the violins on the block as though they were wings that will finally allow our eyes to see above the rooftop of liquor stores, police cars, and brutality, prison gates, bullet shells. Please, judge me by the depth of my sorrow, not by the color of my projects. Thank you.
All right.
That's a personification poem. I do need a little bit more practice with that poem, but I definitely.
Okay, this is Sierra Shanks, your host of As Sweet as the Song's Open Mic, and I am sitting here with our featured artist for April 13, 2013, Mr. Quartez Harris. So, Quartez, tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you first start writing?
I started writing at the age of 18. I'm 22 now. I found the interest of writing my freshman year of college. A renowned poet by the name of Will Evans, he came and did a show at my school. And I was captivated from that very moment. I did not know that poetry can be performance-based. So when he was theatrical and really painting pictures with his hand gestures, and I'm like, this is a cool element of poetry. It's almost, I always aspired to be an actor. I never really was good at it. So I felt like being a poet might be an opportunity for me to, dabble in it. And from that point on,
that sounds exciting. Well, another question. So I know a lot of people think poetry is hard and complex. So do you sit through and think through like every word of every stanza, or do you just write freely, allowing the words to just flow?
For me personally, writing poetry, at least poems that I'm satisfied with, is very difficult. Believe it or not, it's difficult. But I like the challenge aspect of it. In terms of my writing process, I actually, not the traditional writer. I don't sit down at coffee shops and write poems.
Okay.
Actually, I draw inspiration just from experience. So I think a lot. So I tend to draw a lot of inspiration from my thoughts, my thought pattern. And I would I guess my strategy is I just say whatever's across my mind. I'm like formulating a poem on my mind. And if I hear anything that sounds good, I just write it on my iPhone or a notebook, and then I expound upon it. But it's something I'm starting to embrace. I've always felt like I should have a notebook, like everybody, and sit there and just write poems and look all, intelligent. But I guess I accept the fact that I don't write poems like that. I initially write them in my head, and then they come out.
Who's your inspiration?
Oh, I have a lot of inspirations. My most significant inspiration is a guy by the name of Joshua Bennett.
Okay.
He's actually 24 years old. He's performed at the White House. He's traveled across the country. He's won nationals. He's like the guy everyone knows when it talks about young poets, like a prodigy of poetry. So I just met him recently. I had the honor of representing Ohio State University at Bernard College University in New York for 4 days. We ranked 6th out of 61 colleges. So I was walking, I was, calling my friends, but we just won our belt that night, and then I seen my favorite poet. I've never met him in person before. He was walking down the steps, and I dropped my iPhone. I didn't even have an outer box. I didn't even care at that point. And I ran up to him. He thought I was crazy. And he said, dude, what school are you at? I said, I'm at Ohio State. Dude, forget about me. I'm your favorite fan. I'm always watching on YouTube. And he said, oh yeah, nice to meet you. And crazy. I interacted with my favorite poet. Next poem I'm going to do is, I believe, a poem that many of you are familiar with. Okay, this next poem I wrote after. I like to think of myself now as my poetry is moving in the direction of activism. I feel like now I'm writing to sort of kind of like create awareness. And this particular poem was inspired after reading that a black boy born in 2001 is 1 to 3 times likely to spend some time in prison. I thought that was pretty creepy. So I also thought about, since there is mass incarceration going on, how would a cop feel? Particularly a black cop who arrests black boys. Like, I understand that he has to do his job, but in his conscious, what is he thinking in terms of arresting black boys? So this is a personification poem too, and it's entitled Cradle to Prison. Okay. And I might just experiment on being comfortable since I'm pretty much know everybody. So again, thank you for coming out. All right. When I arrest black boys, my eyes leak abandoned projects. I cringe when my handcuffs bite into the wrist. When I lower them in the casket of my police car, I grieve in my rearview mirror. As I pull away, silence fills my car like snakes. On every skeleton street corner, a parade of blindfolded black boys are dragged into the pipelines of prison. When I arrive home from the funerals in my police car, my tears crumble. I fall in my wife's lap like a Sean Bell's obituary. There is no life for black boys. We are throwing them away in cages. I requested a new pair of handcuffs. The fangs corrode from chewing too many black wrists. This is part of the reason my police badge reeked of stale honor. One night, while patrolling the bones of a ghetto geographia, I saw young black skulls lit on fire, the jaws of concrete locked on 6 black boys. German shepherds were crawling underneath their hoodies. 3 police officers loomed over them like angry streetlights. As me and my partner drove down King Boulevard, a boy stood in the middle of a vacant street like a dead deer. He stared at us, blinked one time. My partner whispered, "You can tell by his skin he is up to no good." We stopped. My partner slowly pulled his gun. It was the color of his innocence, aiming the barrel directly at the boy's chest. The boy fearfully raised his hands in the air like two burning crosses. To my partner's surprise, he was unarmed. We watched the boy disappear like a 14-year-old ghost to the alleyway of the project. You see metal bars are slaughtering little black boys. Their futures are tangled in barbed wires. They are convicts before they take the first step or spill the first word from their drooling mouths. If we just listen close enough, we can hear 1,000 of young black echoes screaming from the throats of youth prisons. We need hope. Your tears are a swirl of expired dreams and prayer oil. Their tiny bones are swollen police batons. When I place black boys under arrest, I wish they had the right to remain free. Anything they say not be used against them in a court of law. They do not possess the right to have justice present during questioning. They cannot afford it and will not be afforded to them. My name is Officer Gregory. I've been in office for 4 years. I'm a proud husband, but a terrified father. My wife is pregnant with her first child. It is a boy, a black boy. Thank you. This poem is a very personal piece. It's entitled Imperfect Brain, which is actually the title of my very first chapbook I've ever created. And it's a poem about when I was labeled special education and when I was secluded in special education classes up to my freshman year in high school. And so poetry is very symbolic because I never thought I could write a poem. I mean, I had a writing barrier, a reading comprehension barrier. So to be able to like tour the country and perform, and it's all surreal to me. Literally, I'm always telling Stephanie like, oh my gosh, because she hears it more. She knows all my insecurities. I'm always telling her like, oh my gosh, I can't write a poem. And I write one, I'm like, oh my God, I wrote this? I produced this? What? I ain't not bad. But no, really, like every poem I've ever written, I prior to I didn't think I could produce it. So I really cherish every single poem I've ever written. So. Alright. I'm gonna right now. Stop talking. According to a pile of documents, my mind is an empty aquarium. I have been forced to sit in a special classroom where every wooden bookshelf is a reminder that I never escaped the 4th grade. Insults leak from the holes in the ceiling. This carpet is soaked with insecurities. Amputated pencils are scattered everywhere. The deceased sharpener tilting from that chipping wall. I have watched bulletin boards tear off at normal lesson plans. It is tired of being ridiculed by the whispers crawling beneath the muddy doormat. The disfigured words on that blackboard spells brainless, and the chalk powder is poisoning my brain cells. I am convinced that my imagination is below grade level. The ruptured legs of my desk is buckling at the body mass of my sorrow. There is caution tape wrapped around this classroom. Every student without special needs glares at the tiny windows. They see nothing but corpse gasping for wisdom. I hear college don't have classes like these. I have developed frightening routines. I usually jump out of my desk. I run to the back of class. I take cover. I don't want anyone to see me in a room infested with misspelled words. When anyone asks me, what is your favorite class? I smile in eerie burden. I tell them fire drills, tornado warnings. These are only 2 times I feel normal. When the alarms are blaring, the chalkboard crumbles into dust. The nails of my desk loosens. It falls apart. I entangle the embarrassment in my fist. I pick up all the broken pencils. Carry them with me. Well, if I was dying or dead, my carcass feels alive with pride. But from my left shoulders, I walk with my peers. I am not a wheelchair. These hallways do not separate us by the diagram of our brains. We are all enclosed in the same cranium. My imagination is same cast as the cells, and my mind are both grade level. This is what college once feels like. My brain and spinal cord never felt disconnected. As I pass my library, my confidence becomes hardcover books. And these number classrooms is where I belong. Now we all take cover. I don't need a referral to be here. The alarm stops. My teacher reads off 4 names. The sharp edge of a piercing voice behind me reads off 20. I don't want to be here. We are asked to get up from our knees. Head to class. The drill is over. I don't want to move. Stigma cripples the activity in my bones as I stagger to my cage. The door slams, it locks. Light bulb shatters, red steaming eyes come peeling through the darkness. The insects of my insecurities come crawling out of my pockets, up my arms, across my shoulders, around my neck. My imperfect brain, my single file line looks like a snake. And everyone's staring with nets in their eyes. Thank you. That poem is actually not in the top of that. I feel like I mentioned it before. And that poem actually scored really well. I had the honor of representing the House University at Nationals. It took place in Bernard College in New York, New York. We competed against 61 colleges from across the country. We ranked 6th. Now and this is a big deal to me because I've been on the team for the past 3 years, and the first year we ranked like 58. The second year we ranked 59. Okay, I'm being a little dramatic, but it was up in that range. So we sucked. I didn't suck, but we sucked. But no, we had a good team. They were hating on Buckeyes. So no, actually I graduate this semester in spring. So for me to be able to represent Ohio State and be a part of history, and semis is like literally they go from 61, everybody competes to 15 colleges. So it's really in that top 15. So therefore we got to perform like in front of like 800 people, and it was like breathtaking. So next next poem I'm gonna do is actually it was a group poem. I like the poem so much. I'm kind of stingy with my poems, so when people like Quartez, let's write a group poem. I'm like, I ain't trying to write with you, I'm trying to do my own poem. But we needed our coach at the time, Will Evans. He emphasized group poems, so I thought I handed one of my friends a poem. We kind of worked together, and I was kind of salty, but it came out to be an amazing poem. It's entitled "There Are Neighborhoods in Chicago." My friend, when I wrote the poem, she's Middle Eastern, she's from Palestine, so she wrote from the Syria war, the uprising there, and I wrote about, I had this idea of comparing that with gun violence in Chicago. So I said, how about if I talk about, because that's what I'm familiar with, I hear it a lot, I read articles about it a lot. If I write about from the perspective of Chicago, you write from the perspective of Syria. And just show how, at the end of the day, whenever there's war, children suffer the most. And that's what we believe, and we wrote it, and this is my section. So this morning I took all her stuff out. But mine's in. So, all right, I'm corny. All right. Do you know the sound of war deep within the breast of a child? There is now a whole generation of remote Chicago children that has never been to lakefront, but they imagine it to be imbued with blood and sharks that look like hunting rifles. Murderers are mentors. The children are immune to death. They put nails in their own coffins. Gunshots has a horrible sound. Bicycles have become shields. Black children learn to pedal fast or to dodge the spray of bullets. Street crimes spin in their eyes. Senseless murders occur on school grounds. Bus stops are booby traps, so buses are painted black to blend in with the shadows. There are neighborhoods in Chicago where trash bags are filled with bullets. They are perched in front of each house. Throughout the week, the residents sweep up numerous shell casings. The very first time I visited Chicago, I was downtown in the Hilton Hotel, true story. I peered out the window to what appeared to be a city without homicides and looping caution tape that read Terror Town. There was a museum of wounded children no one ever goes to visit. Newtown shooting. The world speaks of a peculiar revolution. Innocent kids killed in Chicago. The world is without media. They are deaf. They continue their daily routines. America appears to be missing its tongue. These innocent children's funerals are half empty. Eulogies fill the void. I wonder if you added enough of Chicago children together, if they'd equal a front page. Thank you. This poem, you've heard this poem before. It's entitled Detroit Saxophone. I'm actually proud of this poem just because I was telling her when she interviewed me that writing for me is very difficult. And I remember I woke up one morning and was like, you know, it's time for a change. I'm going to force myself to write. And I forced myself to produce this poem, and I was satisfied. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. You mean something I can actually write when I make myself? Now, I don't force myself to write as much as I did when that time I wrote that poem, but yeah. I mean, and the story behind it is Jonathan has in the kitchen, he has like this beautiful portrait of a black man playing a saxophone. And I was trying to draw inspiration, so I looked, I'm like, oh, I can write about that. And there was no one in the picture but the African American man was playing. And I was like, I wonder who he's playing to. So that's how it kind of started. So, and then I read that Detroit was the poorest, largest city. So throughout the poem you hear themes of poverty. And I chose Detroit as a setting in the poem. So. You can record me. I won't fight you. I won't fight you. Make sure if you do a picture, filter it. Make me look, stocky. All right. On the steps of a decaying apartment building in downtown Detroit, a young boy with a record player heart holds an old saxophone with his broken fingers. He plays stories of music. It's the only voice for his forgotten neighborhood. He plays for the rustatiers of ghettos, garbage reeking from urban schools, children like him without bicycles, but with rotten playgrounds. He plays for the empty wallets. His poverty-stricken mother, who tries to provide with that crumbled-up dollar in her purse. You see, music gives his mother faith, somehow keeps her Bible alive. He plays for the people who only get to see the sun during lunch breaks and those who sit on bleak porches just to watch the innermost streams drop past him. He plays for his friend Devin. His home is a spoiled refrigerator. He eats crumbs from his tiny kitchen table. He only has enough hope to make the wrong living. He plays for the ashes of scorched dreams, lost bodies that pace on street corners, his grandfather's stomach filled with empty beer bottles, the homeless who still dream on cardboard boxes, boarded up churches, the sun hardly sheds its skin here. He plays for his crime-infested neighborhood without first aid kit, a crying ghetto, the broken shell casing of small children, concerned parents, every dead end, with swollen eyes of TV screens crying sad news on his streets. They build graveyards from potholes, dogs bark unceasingly, everything and everyone is afraid for their lives. During the explosion of Detroit gunshots, his gold saxophone is shot 3 times, urban tunes pour from his bruised eyes. He doesn't write songs. No one has ever taught him how to pick up a pencil or how to spell. The next day he picked up a pencil, began sketching 100 little saxophones on notebook paper, wrote, "I play for you," the best way he could. He cut them out with rusted scissors, walked around his depressed neighborhood and passed each one out as tiny gifts. When he returned home, he unburied his wounded saxophone, played from his bedroom window. He was hoping to heal his city. Okay. I wish I wrote funny poems, because I think of myself as a funny guy sometimes. And all my poems are like so sad, like funeral. I'm gonna write a poem, a funny poem. I'm serious. Okay. So depressing. All right. I'm gonna do. Okay. Oh, this is very depressing. Oh my god. I don't even know. Okay. Do you mind if I do this poem and have like a 15-line poem, and I can do that and I'll stop it because it's not as dark.
Keep going.
Okay.
No problem.
I'm so scared. Okay. Pray that I write funny poems starting tomorrow.
Alrighty.
Okay. So this poem is entitled "A Letter from the Shooter." I have the privilege of working with the creative writing class at Middleton High School, and I implement writing workshops. Ultimately, I try to improve the writing experience.
That's awesome.
And one particular assignment was to identify stories in a newspaper and write from that perspective. And of course, there was one about a shooting at a school, unfortunately. And I was giving this kid some ideas. I'm like, use a metaphor for, I'm all about, trying to paint a picture rather than tell people. And I'm like trying to create film with my words. And I was like, dude, you have to use a metaphor for I don't know, army artillery, something really pull people in. And I'm throwing him out all these ideas. I'm like, shoot, I'm about to take this home and write them myself. So I went home the next day and I said, oops. So I wrote the poem. I know. Okay, so yeah. I used to remember it, but it's been a while. So okay. Dear McKinley High School, I was not psychotic, coward, or terrorist. I was the first target. My notebooks were filled with the ink of bullet holes, and between the shacks of classes, bullies threw grenades at me. Once I watched a kid write my name on a landmine with a permanent marker. He smiled at me and placed it in my locker. Every bathroom break was a trap. When I used the restroom, I was exposed to tear gas. Machine guns were fastened around my teacher's calloused shoulders. The students point their lasers at me. The teachers did nothing. I cannot begin to count my number of death threats. I tried, I promised, to escape from the barrel of bullets, but tanks will wait outside in parking lots. They will point their sharp caliber guns at me. I scarcely made it home. That night, before I killed them all, I was poisoned. I had to have counted 1,000 bullets. I stared at the bats hanging from the ceiling. I heard fire jets and missiles. That morning, before I killed them all, my grandfather pulled his face from the newspaper. He whispered, "Have an evil day." Post-traumatic fear curled around my trigger finger. Everyone who entered that school were walking corpse. When I stared to the horrified eyes of all of my bullies, I screamed, "Karma is an angry God. You created these firearms and you would take them to hell with you." I did not stop shooting until the entire school were puddles of bullies. When I looked out the window, there was finally an outcry. Bystanders were frozen in tears. Parents were crawling around the school building. Combat vehicles were everywhere. I heard a helicopter hovering above. Those humans were finally sympathetic, but they arrived too late. I snatched the demons from all of the bullies. Sincerely, the victim. Okay, I wrote this poem. I really wish I could have read it longer, but I just don't have the time. It's my brother. He's a hip hop artist. He aspires to be a hip hop artist. And in hip hop, unfortunately, all hip hop, it seems as if there's negative commentary. And I do know that there is unhealthy hip hop. I can agree with that. But I also feel like for many young kids, it's a tool for self-expression, really a coping mechanism. And I feel like I hear this negative, for me personally, I hear people like, "Oh, I don't mess with hip hop." I'm like, but I think there is positive hip hop that also tell a story and help kids make sense of what's going on around them. So I actually wrote this poem, it was a really short poem about my brother, and yeah, so. Your hands are notebooks. Your palms are lined with the most ingenious hip-hop lyrics. Let the world see the microphone in your eyes, for they are filled with untold struggles and raw experiences. The stage is your healing. The crowd may be the only thing left standing in your life. Your ghetto is not a crown, as your hood is not Keno. kingdom, but you are king. Your stereo heart is louder than the streets you walk on. Your own music surrounds you. It gives you permission to shine like a spotlight in a gloomy city. Allow your lyrics of survival to fill your mouth with graffiti. The world will see your voice, speak life, for you are hip-hop. That's it. Yes, I actually have, it's my second chapbook, which the chapbook is a book of poems. This particular book is entitled Black Boy Ink. I wrote the book really to explore some of the social issues that affect young African American males. So each poem is symbolic of an African American experience for young males. So.
Okay, that's awesome. And where can we find you? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook?
You can find me here. Because
Okay.
I will be supporting
right.
you. So you definitely find me here.
So be here.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. And Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff.
Okay, and then give us your names.
My Facebook, I'm pretty strange. I spend too much time on Facebook. I don't really get on Twitter. But my Facebook is Quartez Harris. Twitter is Unconventional Q.
Okay.
And Instagram, I believe it's Creator Q.
All right. All right, so this is Quartez Harris, who will be back here at the Sweet as the Songs.